I welcome you all to the third segment of 27th lecture. We've discussed about the factual circumstances, then the preliminary thing that the tribunal decided on. In that second video, in the second segment, I've forgotten to mention about one aspect, which was when many evidence were adduced before the tribunal in order for the tribunal to arrive at a decision with regard to whether Canada had an intent to favor domestic industries, the domestic PCB industries. So I spoke about many government officials' records were submitted and all of that. So in that I forgot to mention about Deputy Environment Minister's statements were also adduced before the tribunal, where it, the Deputy Minister in different occasions are mentioned or spoke about arguing for a open border between Canada and USA. So that was cited, and also there was one note, handwritten notes of the Deputy Minister. I mean, this note was prepared in the context of, after the minister had met with the CHEM security and Syntec officials and all of that. So there was something written on that note wherein the Deputy Minister put a cross next to that provision, and he had written, "I don't want to commit this on paper." So the point that he put across was with regard to favoring the domestic PCB industries. So even that was submitted before the tribunal. Handwritten notes of the Deputy Minister were submitted before the tribunal. I mean, this begs us the broader question of the asymmetry in access to information. I mean, government getting collecting evidences against the investor and the investor collecting evidences against the government. There's clearly an asymmetrical access to the information, that at least in the context of investment disputes, that I would feel after reading many arbitral awards. So in this case also, the investor was able to provide certain documents against the government, their own internal documents itself. Okay. Coming to this segment, in this segment, I want to discuss about how did the tribunal decide the question of whether there is violation of Article 1102. Primarily for something to be violative of Article 1102, or if you allege a violation of national treatment provision, then you must show an appropriate competitor in the domestic, domestic competitor. So the tribunal at the outset stated that SD Myers and Myers Canada are actually in the same business as that of CHEM Security and Syntec. So they were in like circumstances. So that part of the issue of national treatment was easily it was easy in this particular case because all the industries are in the process of PCB remediation business. So that was easy for the tribunal to conclude. But here, Canada took a very interesting argument. It stated that its measures, the interim order and the final order, so even though they imposed these measures, the orders imposed a export ban of PCB waste, what we see here is it is imposed on all industries. So it's not just SD Myers not able to export PCB waste, but you see even CHEM Security cannot export PCB waste. So the export ban is applicable on all industries. So it's neutral. The application of this order is neutral. So SD Myers stated that the tribunal should look at the aim and effect of the interim measure. I mean, aim and effect test was used in WTO jurisprudence. If you have studied international trade law, you would know that US malt beverages cases, this was something that was discussed, right? The aim and effect test. So here, SD Myers is arguing that aim and effect of that interim order had to be looked at by the tribunal, and then to conclude that the measures are actually taken to favor the domestic PCB industries. Right, so this was a contention of SD Myers. So the tribunal essentially formulated one question, which the tribunal stated that it will look at whether because of the measure is there any disproportionate benefit to the nationals over foreign investors. That is something that the tribunal will look at. I mean, it has already concluded that Canada had a regulatory intent to favor the domestic PCB industries. So that had already been decided, right? So the tribunal stated that merely there is an intent to favor domestic industry, that will not result in breach of Article 1102, because there also has to be an adverse effect for the investor as well. And Canada stated that, Canada obviously has to look after the economic development of the country, economic growth of its industries and all of that. And also it has a legitimate goal, that is an environmental goal with regard to eliminating PCB, right? So that is also a legitimate goal. But is it the only way? I mean, by putting an export restriction, is it the only way to achieve the legitimate goal? Then the tribunal said no, that is not the only way to achieve the legitimate goal. And the tribunal said there are other alternative measures as well that it could have adopted. For example, subsidizing the domestic PCB industries and all of that. So it mentioned that there are other ways to achieve that legitimate goal as well. And the tribunal actually relied on the fact, when Canada reopened the border in February 1997, it shows that Canada had the ability to manage that. So that's something that the tribunal also looked at. I mean, while deciding the intent, of Canada, the tribunal also looked at one more fact. That is, actually the interim orders were passed under Canada Environmental Protection Act, like CEPA. So under that act, even Ministry of Health had to be consulted. That was not consulted. Risk evaluation was not shown before the tribunal that Canada has conducted a risk evaluation. What Canada did was, Canada relied on Department of Environment's statement that the risk is present, and then it passed the order. So here the tribunal stated that eventually when Canada opened the border in 1997, Feb 1997, that means Canada had the ability to control or manage this particular environmental risk, whatever the perceived environmental risk was there with regard to transporting PCB waste into the other countries, right? So that was something that tribunal relied on. Tribunal concluded that there was a violation of Article 1102 by Canada in this particular case. So that is what the tribunal said. But there was one separate opinion by Dr. Brian Schwartz, one of the arbitrators, and he had stated that he also agreed with regard to the violation of Article 1102, but then he sort of looked at it from a different perspective, and he stated that there has been a violation of Article 1102, and the reason for that is, he stated that the Canada's measures had to be looked at holistically, its obligation under 1102 and the provisions of the NAFTA side agreement, North American Association for Environmental Cooperation and all of that. Holistically, after looking at it, he stated that Canada has a right to determine its own level of environmental protection. It can do so. And Dr. Brian Schwartz stated that Canada can give less favorable treatment to ST Myers, provided if there was a legitimate environmental goal that it had to achieve. Then on the facts of the case, he stated that there was no legitimate environmental goal for Canada to treat ST Myers in a less favorable position, and thereby Canada has violated Article 1102. So we see that majority opinion and the separate opinion arrived at the same decision for the different reasoning. But in subsequent cases, we see that there is a conflict of this difference in the opinion of the majority arbitrators and the separate opinion of Dr. Brian Schwartz. But at least with regard to national treatment, this was the thing. Ultimately, it was decided that Canada had violated Article 1102, but the reasoning were different, right? So I hope you've understood the decision of the tribunal with regard to Article 1102. So in the next video, we will look at what was the tribunal's decision with regard to the allegation of violation of Article 1105 of NAFTA. Thank you.